Have you ever wondered why pain seems to follow you no matter what you do? Why certain struggles keep repeating in your life as if the universe is trying to tell you something? Carl Jung believed that suffering is not a punishment. It is a message, a hidden truth buried deep within the spiritual fabric of your being, waiting to be understood. And if you ignore it, it will only grow stronger, shaping your reality in ways you can't control. What if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now has a mystical purpose, that the struggles, the disappointments, the cycles you can't seem to break, these are not random? In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden message behind your suffering, revealing why your soul is calling for transformation. You'll discover how the unconscious mind speaks through pain, how unresolved wounds shape your destiny, and, most importantly, how to break free. But be warned, what you're about to learn is not for the faint of heart. These are truths that most people are too afraid to face. However, those who do it, they awaken. They unlock a deeper sense of spirituality, clarity, and purpose. If you stay until the end, you will never see pain the same way again. Before we dive in, I need to ask you something. Are you subscribed to this channel? Many people watch our content but forget to subscribe. If you believe in spiritual wisdom and want to go deeper into life's hidden truths, hit that subscribe button now. It helps us continue to bring you insights that most people will never hear. And now, let's begin. Pain is not a random misfortune, nor a cruel trick played by the universe. It is, in truth, a messenger, one that speaks in a language deeper than words, whispering truths the soul has long ignored. Carl Jung understood this well. To him, suffering was not a punishment, but a summons, a sacred calling towards spirituality and self-discovery. When pain knocks at the door, it carries a question. Will you listen? Modern life has mastered the art of distraction. People drown their suffering in work, entertainment, and fleeting pleasures, mistaking movement for progress. But pain, in its wisdom, is patient. It does not dissipate when ignored. It waits, growing louder, manifesting in subtle signs. Restlessness, exhaustion, that vague sense of emptiness that no external achievement can fill. Jung warned that these seemingly minor discomforts are the psyche's way of crying out, urging the individual to stop running and start looking within. Yet, many resist. They label pain as an enemy, something to be silenced rather than understood. They chase success, relationships, or material comfort, believing that once they reach a particular milestone, the void within will be filled. But the universe does not function on such terms. True fulfillment does not come from external validation. It emerges from embracing the journey inward. To suppress pain is to reject the very path to wholeness. In Scripture, Job's suffering was not in vain. It was the crucible through which his faith and understanding deepened. Job 23:10. Likewise, those who endure hardship with an open heart will find that pain, rather than destroying them, becomes the architect of their transformation. The great paradox is that suffering often reveals what is most sacred. When embraced, it becomes a guide, leading one toward spiritual wisdom and awakening. And so, a crucial question arises. If pain is a messenger, what is it trying to tell you? The answer lies not in avoidance, but in inquiry. Instead of seeking escape, ask yourself, what part of me is crying for attention? What truth have I buried so deep that only suffering can bring it to light? The path to self-awareness begins here, with a willingness to listen. And as this journey unfolds, one discovers that pain is not a curse, but an invitation, one that leads directly to there is a part of the human soul that remains hidden, locked away in the depths of the subconscious, the shadow, as Carl Jung called it. This is the repository of everything a person refuses to acknowledge in themselves: fears, unspoken desires, suppressed emotions, and memories too painful to confront. Yet no matter how deeply buried, the shadow does not remain silent. It speaks through pain. When suffering arises, it is often a sign that something concealed is demanding to be seen. Pain is not merely discomfort, it is revelation. The wounds people carry, whether emotional or physical, are messages from the unconscious, urging them to face what has been repressed. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. On the contrary, it gives them power. What is denied in the psyche eventually manifests in life. Patterns of self-sabotage, recurring failures, strained relationships, even physical illness. Jung recognized that the refusal to integrate one's shadow leads to suffering in unexpected ways. Consider the biblical story of Jonah. Called by God to Nineveh, he ran in the opposite direction, unwilling to confront what lay ahead. Jonah 1:3. His defiance led to a storm so fierce that his escape became impossible. This is the nature of the unconscious. When a person refuses to heed its call, life itself creates storms to force them to listen. Pain is often the tempest that brings one face to face with their hidden self. Instead of resisting, the wise seek understanding. The next time suffering arises, rather than asking, "Why is this happening to me?" one might instead ask, "What truth is this pain trying to reveal?" To approach suffering with curiosity rather than fear is to step onto the path of spiritual transformation. Those who do so find that, paradoxically, the very darkness they once feared holds the key to their greatest liberation. But this is only the beginning. To truly transcend suffering, one must not only recognize their shadow, but learn to engage with it, to listen, to question, and to integrate what has been lost. This, as Jung taught, is where true healing begins. Hidden depths of the soul. Facing the shadow is not an intellectual exercise, it is a battle of the soul. Carl Jung understood that transformation does not come from avoiding discomfort, but from stepping directly into it. The shadow is not a vague concept, it is a living force within, made up of repressed fears, hidden wounds, and unspoken truths. It influences decisions, distorts perceptions, and quietly sabotages progress. Left unchecked, it can take control of one's life, masquerading as fate. But the moment a person turns to face it, something profound begins to shift. Most resist this process because it demands vulnerability. The ego, in its pride, prefers to believe it is in control. It avoids pain by projecting blame onto others, justifying destructive habits or clinging to illusions of certainty. Yet the Bible teaches that those who seek truth must first humble themselves. "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me, and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Psalm 139:23-24. True transformation begins when one dares to examine their inner world with honesty and courage. The shadow reveals itself through intense emotions and automatic reactions. If someone's words provoke an outsized response, if a situation stirs deep anger or fear, that is the shadow speaking. These moments are invitations, portals leading to self-discovery. Instead of dismissing them, the wise ask, "Why does this trigger me? What part of me am I refusing to see?" Jung emphasized that whatever a person resists most in others is often a reflection of what they deny in themselves. Confronting these hidden aspects is the first step toward true spiritual growth. This process is neither easy nor immediate. The old self resists change, clinging to familiar suffering rather than embracing the unknown. But for those who persist, the reward is freedom. The shadow, once feared, becomes a source of strength. As Jesus said, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." John 8:32. To integrate the shadow is to reclaim lost power, to break free from unconscious cycles, and to step fully into the life one was meant to live. But the journey is not over. Recognizing the shadow is only the beginning. Patterns must still be unraveled, lessons learned, and wisdom applied. This leads to the next revelation. Pain is not random. It follows a pattern, a script written by the unconscious. And life is not a series of random events. It follows patterns, some visible, others hidden deep within the unconscious. Carl Jung understood that repetition is not coincidence but communication. The same struggles, the same heartbreaks, the same disappointments, these cycles are not accidents. They are messages. The universe speaks through recurrence, urging the individual to awaken. Yet most do not listen. Instead, they ask, "Why does this always happen to me?" without realizing that the answer lies within. When a person keeps encountering the same challenges, it is not because they are unlucky. It is because their inner world is creating their external reality. Unresolved wounds shape perception. A person who fears abandonment, for example, may unconsciously push others away, creating the very loneliness they dread. A person who feels unworthy may sabotage opportunities before they can unfold. Until these hidden beliefs are brought to light, they continue to dictate experience. Scripture echoes this truth. The Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years, not because the journey was long, but because they refused to learn the lesson God was teaching them, Deuteronomy 8:2. Likewise, those who resist introspection find themselves walking in circles, reliving the same suffering. Painful cycles will persist until one stops blaming external forces and starts recognizing their own role in the pattern. To break the cycle, one must stop reacting and start observing. When the same painful experience arises, the question should not be, "Why is this happening again?" but rather, "What is this trying to teach me?" Each challenge is a reflection, a mirror held up by the universe. The key to transformation is not in changing circumstances, but in changing consciousness. Jung believed that awareness alone has the power to dissolve unconscious patterns. The moment a person recognizes the script they have been repeating, they gain the power to rewrite it. And yet, awareness alone is not enough. Healing requires action, an intentional step toward change. But this change is impossible if one remains closed, refusing to face their deepest vulnerabilities, which leads to the next truth. Only through vulnerability can true healing begin. Until one understands it, the same lessons will repeat. True strength is not found in resistance but in surrender. Carl Jung understood that the walls people build to protect themselves often become their prisons. The ego fears vulnerability, equating it with weakness, yet it is only through embracing one's fragility that real transformation occurs. Pain, suffering, and uncertainty, these are not enemies. They are invitations. To reject them is to reject the path to healing. Modern society glorifies control. People are taught to hide their struggles, to wear masks of confidence, to present an image of success even when their inner world is in turmoil. Yet, Scripture offers a different perspective. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Vulnerability is not failure. It is the gateway to divine strength. The more one resists their own humanity, the further they stray from spiritual wholeness. The irony is that what people try hardest to suppress often emerges in destructive ways. Those who fear rejection may build emotional barriers, yet in doing so, they isolate themselves. Those who refuse to acknowledge their pain may numb it through distractions, yet the emptiness remains. The unconscious does not forget. Jung emphasized that what is ignored does not disappear. It manifests often in ways that cannot be controlled. The only escape is through acceptance. Consider Peter, who swore he would never deny Christ, yet in his greatest moment of fear did exactly that. Luke 22:61-62. His pride shattered, he wept bitterly. Yet it was in that brokenness that he was truly transformed. Likewise, those who dare to confront their own fragility will find that what they feared most was never their weakness, but their refusal to embrace it. Vulnerability is not about exposing wounds for the world to see. It is about acknowledging them before God and oneself, allowing healing to begin. And healing is not passive, it is an active journey. To step into vulnerability is to step toward the unknown, to surrender the illusion of control. But this surrender is not an end, it is a beginning, because only through the integration of all aspects of the self, including the broken parts, can one truly discover who they were meant to be. Becoming oneself is not a simple process. It is a journey, often long and filled with trials. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the path of integrating all aspects of the self, light and shadow, strength and weakness, the known and the unknown. It is not about becoming someone new, but about stripping away illusions to reveal what was always there. Yet, most resist this calling. They cling to roles assigned by society, expectations imposed by family, and identities shaped by past wounds. They live according to external scripts, never questioning whether these truly belong to them. To individuate, one must first wake up from this sleep of conformity. People move through life on autopilot, following paths laid out for them, rarely asking, "Is this truly who I am? Do I believe what I say I believe? Am I living out of choice or out of fear?" True transformation begins with discomfort. when the life one has built starts feeling like a prison rather than a home. This is the soul's way of demanding something greater, but answering this call requires courage, because individuation often means letting go of everything that is not truly yours. The Bible speaks of this process in powerful metaphors. When Abram was called to become Abraham, he had to leave everything behind: his land, his people, his old identity. Genesis 12:1. The path to true selfhood always involves a departure, a breaking away from the familiar. Yet, the reward is far greater than the loss. Those who dare to embark on this journey discover a life that is not merely lived, but fully embodied. They no longer exist as fragments, one person in public, another in private, but as a unified whole. However, individuation is not a linear path. It is filled with obstacles, regressions, and moments of doubt. There are times when one will long for the comfort of old patterns, when fear will whisper that change is too difficult. This is why faith is essential. Jesus himself spoke of the narrow path. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Matthew 7:13-14. Individuation is this narrow path. It is not for the many, but for the few who dare to seek truth. And yet, this journey is not meant to be walked alone. Relationships become mirrors, reflecting back the parts of ourselves we cannot yet see. Some will challenge, others will inspire, but all will serve as guides. This leads to the next realization. Our deepest struggles in relationships are often reflections of the unresolved aspects within ourselves. No one truly knows themselves in isolation. It is in relationships, with friends, family, lovers, even enemies, that the shadow is most clearly revealed. Carl Jung taught that what people refuse to see in themselves, they project onto others. This is why certain individuals provoke intense reactions without logical reason. The unconscious recognizes in them something familiar, something buried deep within. The irritation, the admiration, the resentment. These are clues, mirrors, reflecting aspects of the self that have yet to be integrated. It is easy to blame others for emotional pain. They are selfish. They are controlling. They are cruel. But the wise do not stop at blame. They ask, why does this bother me so much? What part of me is being triggered? Often what is despised in another is what one secretly fears exists within themselves. A person repulsed by arrogance may have unresolved insecurities about their own worth. Someone intolerant of weakness may still be running from their own vulnerabilities. The world is always holding up a mirror. Whether one chooses to look is another question. This truth is deeply embedded in Scripture. Jesus warned against hypocrisy, asking, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?" Matthew 7:3. Relationships are not random, they are spiritual assignments. Every difficult interaction is an opportunity for self-discovery. The people who challenge, frustrate, and wound are often unknowingly revealing the exact places where healing is needed. But this is not a call for passivity. Recognizing projections does not mean tolerating toxic relationships. It means using every experience as a lesson, a chance to see oneself more clearly. Instead of asking, why is this person like this, one should ask, what is this dynamic showing me about myself? Healing begins when the unconscious patterns governing relationships are made conscious. This is how transformation takes place, not by changing others, but by changing the way one engages with them. And yet, there is a final truth to confront. Suffering in relationships is not punishment, but preparation. The conflicts, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, each one is a stepping stone toward greater self-awareness. And when one finally stops resisting, when they embrace pain as a teacher rather than an enemy, they arrive at the most liberating realization of all. Pain itself is not the problem. Resistance to it is. Pain only has power over those who resist it. Carl Jung understood that suffering, when avoided, becomes a relentless force, one that shapes decisions, fuels fears, and creates endless cycles of struggle. But the moment one stops running, when they dare to face pain with open eyes, its grip begins to loosen. This is the paradox. Freedom is not found in escape, but in acceptance. When pain is met with curiosity rather than fear, it transforms from tormentor to teacher. Most people instinctively resist suffering. They numb it with distractions, silence it with busyness, or rationalize it away. But pain does not disappear. It waits. The Bible echoes this truth. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. The truth is often uncomfortable, but avoiding it only deepens suffering. Those who dare to confront their wounds discover that pain, no matter how overwhelming, holds a deeper message, one that leads to spiritual awakening. Journaling, dream analysis, silent contemplation. These are tools to decode the language of pain. Writing about suffering reveals hidden patterns. Dreams uncover fears buried in the unconscious. Reflection brings clarity to recurring struggles. But the most powerful transformation comes through stillness, the ability to sit with pain without trying to change it. In the stillness, something extraordinary happens. The fear of suffering dissolves, and in its place, a quiet strength emerges. Jesus exemplified this. In the Garden of Gethsemane, knowing the suffering ahead, he did not flee. Instead, he prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. His surrender was not defeat, it was power. Those who accept their suffering, who stop seeing it as punishment and start seeing it as refinement, undergo the same transformation. Pain does not break them, it purifies them. And so, the greatest question remains, what if pain is not here to destroy but to awaken? What if, instead of asking how to make suffering stop, one asked, what is this teaching me? The answer to that question holds the key to true freedom. Because in the end, suffering is not the enemy. Fear of it is. And when that fear is gone, there is nothing left to block the path to spiritual liberation. Have you ever wondered why pain seems to follow you, no matter what you do? Why certain struggles keep repeating in your life, as if the universe is trying to tell you something? Carl Jung believed that suffering is not a punishment. It is a message, a hidden truth buried deep within the spiritual fabric of your being, waiting to be understood. And if you ignore it, it will only grow stronger, shaping your reality in ways you can't control. What if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now has a mystical purpose, that the struggles, the disappointments, the cycles you can't seem to break, these are not random? In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden message behind your suffering, revealing why your soul is calling for transformation. You'll discover how the unconscious mind speaks through pain, how unresolved wounds shape your destiny, and, most importantly, how to break free. But be warned, what you're about to learn is not for the faint of heart. These are truths that most people are too afraid to face. However, those who do, they awaken. They unlock a deeper sense of spirituality, clarity, and purpose. If you stay until the end, you will never see pain the same way again. Before we dive in, I need to ask you something. Are you subscribed to this channel? Many people watch our content but forget to subscribe. If you believe in spiritual wisdom and want to go deeper into life's hidden truths, hit that subscribe button now. It helps us continue to bring you insights that most people will never hear. And now, let's begin. Now that you understand the hidden message behind your pain, the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to resist suffering, or will you embrace it as a path to transformation? Carl Jung taught that those who dare to confront their wounds find true liberation. So what about you? What part of today's message resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your experience. If this video spoke to you, don't stop here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that notifications are turned on. Many people miss life-changing content because they're not subscribed. Don't let that be you. And before you go, I have something even more powerful waiting for you. Click on the next video on your screen. It will take you even deeper into the mysteries of the unconscious mind and your spiritual awakening. I'll see you there. This is Celestial Truths signing off. Stay awakened.